Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. My name is Angela Willits, and I'm the director of the part-time program, but I'm also the co-chair of the mental health focus area. So I'm here with kind of two hats today, and we're going to take the next hour or so to talk with you about the different focus areas in our program that you can select from when you get to your advanced years 3 and 4. We're going to ask, I think we'll hold questions until the end, but please feel free to jump in for questions. One of the reasons that we'll hold questions is because, just so everyone knows, we're recording and live streaming this so that the people who want to tune in remotely can, but also the video will be sent out, at a later date. So for your privacy, we'll stop recording once we turn it over to the questions part of the talk. So before I kick it off and talk about the mental health focus area, I'll let my colleagues introduce themselves as well.
I'm Tracy Schroepfer. I'm a professor in the School of Social Work, and I'm chair of the Health and Aging.
And I'm Ellen Smith, and I'm a clinical professor here. I'm also the associate director of the school and the chair of the Children, Youth, and Family Focal Area.
Okay, so, and as I said, I'm mental health, and what I'll share with you is a little bit about the mental health classes, and then talk a little bit about field placements, and then similarly talk about like types of jobs, careers in mental health that students in the MSW program pursue after graduation. So if you do the mental health focus area, you will take a mental health practice class, which is 835. So that's advanced practice in mental health. And then you take a policies and services class. So if you do the mental health focus area, it's a policies and services and mental health class. You take both of those in year 3 in the fall semester. Policies and services is an online class with some synchronous meetings. And then the advanced mental health practice class is a blended class. And then you, in the spring, you would take your, have your electives options, spring, summer, and then we have one mental health elective in the fall. You'll learn more about that down the road. So I'm not going to go into those electives, but we do have some electives that mental health students prefer to take. You can take any electives that you want, but students seem to like our kind of advanced psychopathology class 712, which is offered online in the summer. Our cognitive and behavioral treatments for adults, which is offered in the fall of year 4 in the program. And then students like our substance use disorders class, which is one of those electives offered in the spring. And then all students, regardless of focus area, take an advanced macro practice class. So whichever focus area you choose, you'll still all be in that class. That class is normally offered in the fall of year 4, but next year we're going to start out, this won't quite affect you yet because you'll still have a year to go, but we're going to pilot offering it in, or I'm sorry, did I say fall of year 4? I meant the spring of year 4. Next year, we're going to start out piloting, offering it in the fall and in the spring of year 4, because some students might prefer taking it in the fall over the spring or vice versa. So we're trying that out next year. So I think that's the coursework. So let me talk with you about field placements. So students who choose the mental health focus area, the majority of those students are interested in licensure, in pursuing an LCSW down the road. And one of the things that we do in the mental health focus area is we seek out clinical mental health placements where students are doing that direct level practice work in the area of mental health. That includes mental health assessment, working with DSM-5 diagnosis, treatment planning, and then mental health interventions, which could be what you think of when you think of as psychotherapy. It could be group work. It could be clinical case management, sort of a variety of things. And so we partner with a variety of agencies in Dane County, and as well as for our part-time program students, working to find them placements within their home communities as much as we can. So we don't guarantee clinical mental health placements, although most of the time we're able to secure those. And we work as much as we can to find you placements close to home, but that can vary depending on what's available and who's taking students as well. But the types of agencies that take our students for our mental health placements also tend to be the types of agencies that students go on to work in. So I'm going to describe some of those to you now, but having you think about them for placements, but also like the possible types of careers in mental health. So there are like inpatient mental health settings. So these are where people tend to come in for like a brief hospital stay for stabilization. There are social workers in those settings that might do a lot of gathering social history, maybe interacting with loved ones or family members of the person staying in the hospital. Some inpatient settings run a few groups during people's stay in the hospital. Doing inpatient work has a lot to do with discharge planning or aftercare planning. So what's the plan for this person after they leave the hospital, and the social worker often plays a big role in that. When you do inpatient mental health work, you're absolutely a part of an interdisciplinary team. You're working with physicians and nurses, nurse practitioners. So you're a part of a interprofessional team. We also have some programs that are partial hospitalization programs or like day programs. We see this especially with some of our adolescent populations. So a student that I have right now is with Meriters. It's like a partial day program. The kids come, they call them kids, but they're 12 to 17-year-olds come for, I think 6 hours a day. And it's a variety of groups and psychoeducational content, but then it's also family meetings and maybe a mix of individual therapy. So that's sort of there's inpatient, then kind of a step down might be a partial day or an intensive outpatient program. Often with addictions work, you might be in an intensive outpatient program or IOP where, you're running a lot of groups and maybe doing case management and working with people individually who are working on recovery from substance use disorder. And then there's outpatient clinics that, might be what come to mind when people think about mental health, where you might be doing more traditional psychotherapy, individual sessions, some group sessions. And we work with outpatient clinics that are maybe affiliated with a larger healthcare system like the VA or like Meriter or group health. But then we also work with private practices that have a smaller practice that are willing to take students to be in those outpatient clinics. We also place students in at Mendota Mental Health, which is a psychiatric hospital, one of 2 in the state of Wisconsin. And that's a forensic setting. So it's, there are aspects of that are a really different experience from, being, in maybe another type of inpatient setting. We place students I have a student currently at the Dane County Jail who's doing brief intervention, brief mental health work with the people there. University Health Services often takes students. Journey Mental Health here in Dane County takes students for a variety of programs that they have. So, range of settings that we work with to place students in for mental health field placements. And then, as I said, a lot of students end up working in those types of settings as well. So if you have questions about anything that I said, jot that down. And after we hear from Tracy and Ellen, we'll circle back to hear what questions you might have. Tracy, you want to go next?
All right, so I'm going to talk to y'all about health and aging, which you can either do separately or together. And so in terms of, I don't know the courses as well, so I had to print it out. I used to do that, I don't anymore. So in the fall, you would take online the health, aging, and disability policy course. So just as with mental health and child, youth, and family, you do a policy course and you do a practice course. And so that policy course is online, and that one crosses both health and aging. So you just have to everybody just takes one policy course. And then in terms of the aging, there's an aging practice course and there's a health practice course. The part-time program is set it up that you could take both if you wanted. One is an elective and one to meet your practice requirement. For aging, it's aging and mental health. And so it's all about working with older adults around mental health issues, you know, whether schizophrenia, eating disorders, depression, etc. And then the other course, the health practice course, is even though it's health and aging, the health practice course goes from conception, you know, through peds all the way to end of life. So that one crosses the lifespan for those that would be more children oriented or adults or older adults. Now, in terms of your, excuse me, your field placement, the part-time program, they have the health and aging field units together. But your placement would be if aging is your preference. It could be that you are placed in aging, but you could be placed aging and health. I mean, they kind of go together so much that oftentimes, you know, it's hard to tell. I do really love that the aging and health field units are together because they do cross over so much. With so many baby boomers nowadays, it's kind of hard to work in aging and or health and not deal with us. I'm a boomer. So that's kind of it in terms of the coursework. And all right, yeah, I think I covered all the coursework. Did I do it correctly?
Yeah, you got it.
Yes.
Not easy because, you know, we've made changes with the hybrid model. And so Tracy was the director of the part-time program for 6 years, the first director of the part-time program. So she knew the program inside and out, but we've made some changes in the past couple of years. So.
But I love this program. Love it. All right, so in terms of jobs, so the jobs are plentiful in terms of aging and health, although that's true across the board. They're just more plentiful now because, again, of the boomers, because 10,000 of us are turning 65 every day until 2030. So there's just, and we've been doing this for years, so there's a lot of us folks, and we need help. So in terms of the careers, again, the careers can cross over. Whether you do the aging or you do the health. I have students that focused on aging and are working in hospitals, hospice, you know, end of life, palliative care, a variety of areas that do cross over, but some are more specific. In terms of health, you can work in emergency rooms. That is a big one now, and I'm so excited that we now have social workers in the emergency rooms. You can work in dialysis, you can work in peds, you can work in memory disorders, nonprofit, skilled care if you wanted to, you know, if you wanted to, which would be like nursing homes, etc. In terms of aging, and there you're really working with, some of it is about discharge, but some of it is also, particularly in hospitals, can be counseling. And that's why we chose aging and mental health, if you did both. A lot of counseling, like on the dialysis unit. I've worked on that before. And there you're working with people who need a lot of support, being on dialysis all the time. So counseling is involved across that spectrum, including discharge. In terms of aging, there's adult protective services. Prisons now are hiring social workers because the 3 strikes you're out, you know, all the things that the legislation that led to people now dying in prison, the prisons are becoming, a lot of places talk about geriatric prisons, and they're actually building nursing facilities. But more importantly, where we see social workers a lot is hospice, and that is working in end of life and being a part of that care team. You also can do things like case management, where you work with, the vast majority of older adults are in the field, so only 5% of older adults are in a type of facility. The rest of older adults are out in the community now. And so it's working with older adults in their homes, to support them so that they're successful in doing so, and hopefully we'll be able to age in place until they die. There's just so many different things that you can do, policy, administration, etc. And I will end with that. Oh, well, I do want to say some of the aging placements are like Badger Prairie, Oak Park Place, New Bridges Case Management, St. Mary's, Meritor, Grace Hospice, Heartland Hospice. The list goes on. So a lot of our students have really great placements, and that's true for the part-time program, very much so. And then just to say that in terms of health, that if you focus more on aging and less on children, or if you do the aging, to say that just to consider it. Older people, I do a service learning class in the fall for undergraduate students, and I have them go out and volunteer, and they're always shocked about how cool older adults can be and they're really people, with personalities, etc. So I'm just throwing that out there. And let's see, was there anything else to get about?
Yes, I think you got it all.
Thank you. Your turn.
All right, switching to the earlier part of the lifespan. So the CYFW focal area has some sub-focus areas that I'm going to talk about as well, because they have, if you want to do like the Title IV Child Welfare Training Program, or you want to become licensed as a school social worker, you have to take a certain set of classes. Okay, so I'll just start with the overall. So in the focal area, just like the other two, there's a practice class and a policies and services class that are related to those focal areas. So the 741 is the practice class. I believe you take that in the fall of your next year.
And that's a blended class.
Right. And then there's also a policy class, which is at the same time, right? Still in the fall.
Yep.
Yes. Got it right.
Yep. Also in the fall, and that class is online.
Which is 920. It's on policies that cover all the aspects of juvenile justice and family program policy programs, as well as child welfare and school policy. And then there are a series of electives as well, like child abuse and neglect, and the foster and kinship care class, or other electives. So we have some folks in the focal area who take like classes on working with adolescents, youth and adolescents, or courses that are in aging or in mental health. That's up to you. So our students who are in this focal area have a broad range of field placement opportunities. So for students who are in the Title IV Child Welfare Training Program, those field placements would all be related to Child Protective Services. So that's mostly within county agencies, doing child abuse investigations or working with families where maltreatment has been a concern, helping families to make those changes so that they can safely care for their kids. In addition, there are a number of agencies and organizations that support families, kids and families, and we have placements in those as well. So many of them are in-home programs where you're going in and supporting the family, providing some type of direct service to the family to help work through like the changes that they need to make, or to help with adolescents who are maybe struggling with a variety of issues. There are also field placements in the area of juvenile justice, again, with county agencies, as well as the organizations that support those doing in-home programming, case management services, community type programs, truancy programs, all of those kinds of things. We have field placements as well for young kids at like Reach Dane, doing a variety of services mostly to support families who then can support their kids better. In addition to that, in the 4E program, as well as non-4E students can do adoption placements with adoption agencies, both public and private, foster care licensing agencies working with and supporting foster parents so that they can better care for the kids in their care. Then we have the school social work side of things too. There's been a lot of increased interest in school social work. We have special classes that you would take if you were to pursue the school social work. So there's a course that goes along with your field placement being in the school. There has been a huge increase in demand for school social workers. And so there's a lot of innovative programming that's going on to try to recruit and train and get into schools, school social workers. There's also peripheral positions that aren't necessarily licensed school social work positions, but groups that are housed in the school that may be providing more types of wraparound support to families whose kids may be struggling with school issues or other types of behavioral problems, maybe even child maltreatment. So we have students who are placed in those as well. Okay, so that's kind of the range of placement. Goes all the way from, you know, supporting moms and babies in hospitals and in home visiting, all the way up to these working directly with adolescents who are involved in a variety of systems. In addition to that, we also have a really strong policy element. So some of our students are placed in the Department of Children and Families and within the Department of Health Services as well, helping to look at new policy initiatives, working with organizations to try to operationalize what that policy looks like, and then help do some implementation work as well. Which also brings me to what the jobs are. So when I go down to the Department of Children and Families and I walk around the different offices, the majority of people that I see working in the divisions that relate to kids and families are graduates. You know, we have a lot of people who ended up, even if they do some direct practice work for a while, end up going to work in policy level positions. And it's the same at the Department of Health Services as well. We have a lot of our graduates working in policy level positions. We have a lot of our graduates, whether they're in the Title IV child welfare training program or not, who end up working for county agency in child protective services, in juvenile justice services, in wraparound programs, providing, you know, high level case management services to kids and families, working at UW Hospital in the child protection unit, adoption agencies, foster care agencies, prevention programs, early intervention programs for kids and families, community agencies that support kids involved in juvenile justice systems. So anything from birth to 18, you'll see our graduates there, and we'll have generally field placements there. So Title IV Child Welfare Training Program does accept applications from students in the part-time program entering into their third year of the program, going into the advanced years. And what that is it's a federally funded program that provides financial support to students who are interested in pursuing careers in public child welfare, whether it's in direct practice to kids and families or in policy work. So our students who, there's an application process, you get notified if you're accepted. It's a fairly competitive program. We only have a certain amount of dollars to distribute across our BSW and our MSW programs. And students get this specialized field placement. There are also additional expectations because it does come with quite a bit of financial support. So it's all of tuition, book money, as well as a monthly stipend to help support you in the work that you're doing in public child welfare. And then students who graduate from that program go on to work in public child welfare for a period of time that's commensurate with how long you received the grant money. It's a great program. If you have any questions about it, you can contact me or the program manager, Alice Egan, if you want to learn more about that. Those students do then take the specialized field placements in child protective services, as well as are required to take the child abuse and neglect and the foster and kinship care classes as their electives. So that's a subfocal area. Students who are interested in pursuing school social work licensure then would be in a school field placement. That's a requirement for licensure, as well as having to take certain courses in addition to the schools class and the school field placement. And then you would work on a portfolio that would get you ready to pursue the licensure process and then be able to take a job in a school or really anywhere else that you want. So because of the school licensure requirement, we really recommend that students who are thinking that they want to be a school social worker and they want to pursue that they go through doing the field placement in a school now, because it is a requirement for licensure and it's much harder to come back and get your school licensure, although you can and people do that. And try to have anything. Yeah, I just want to reiterate what everyone else said too, that the job prospects right now for social workers working across different domains is incredibly phenomenal. Agencies are really struggling to keep quality social workers, the need for social workers. It's not just that we have like a labor shortage, it's also that there are increasing positions. If you listen to the radio, many people are talking about the struggles that we're seeing as a result of the pandemic, whether it's for elders or young people or school age kids, across the lifespan. And one of the solutions to that that's been proposed is to add social workers. And so we're seeing an increase in funding and then an increased need for social workers across all of these different areas. So lucky you.
It's a good time to be getting ready to enter the field. Okay, so I think we'll stop recording now and then open it up for questions.